The clock on the wall was my executioner. Its slow, deliberate ticks echoed the hammering in my chest. Each second was a footstep, marching me closer to the end. 50 minutes. That's all they gave me. 50 minutes until my life. 50 minutes until my story. 50 minutes until my very existence would be extinguished. I could feel the cold sweat beat on my forehead, a stark contrast to the fire of panic raging within me. They didn't see a man, they saw a procedure, but I was a man, and every fiber of my being screamed to live. These hands had built shelters, climbed mountains, and saved lives. Now they were cuffed, deemed worthy of nothing more than being strapped to a gurney. You have to find that one spark, that one impossible chance, and fan it into a flame. The plan was insane, a desperate last-ditch effort born from months of observation and a sliver of luck. It was my only way out. When you're facing certain death, impossible odds are the only ones worth taking. The guards would return in 45 minutes. My window was closing fast. The race had begun. The prison was a fortress of concrete and steel, a modern-day labyrinth designed to crush the human spirit. They called it Supermax, a name that promised no escape and no hope. My cell was a box, 6 feet by 9 feet. That was it. For 23 hours a day, this was my world. The very architecture was a weapon designed to break you down mentally before they ever strapped you to the gurney. The guards were ghosts in tactical gear. To them, I was just a number, a file, a problem to be managed and eventually eliminated. The silence was the worst part. It was a heavy, expectant silence, broken only by the sudden, jarring clang of a steel door. You lived on a knife's edge, constantly waiting for the next shakedown, the next confrontation, the next piece of bad news. Hope was a contraband item, something to be stamped out at every opportunity. But hope is a stubborn weed. It can grow in the most barren of environments. In a place designed to take everything from you, having a secret is the ultimate act of rebellion. The grate finally gave way with a low groan that sounded like a gunshot in the silent cell. I froze, listening, my ears straining for approaching footsteps. Below me was a void, blackness so complete it felt solid. This was it, the point of no return. The fall was short, maybe 10 feet, but it felt like an eternity. The impact sent a shockwave up my spine, but the pain told me I was still alive. The tunnel was narrower than I imagined, barely wide enough to stand. Darkness was absolute, pressing in from all sides. My eyes were useless in pitch black. I relied on other senses. Every step was a risk. Any injury here could be death. The tunnel forked, no sign, no clue. I closed my eyes and listened. To the right, a faint vibration, a low hum, a generator, a pump. I chose left, away from the hum, trusting my gut. I was trading one tomb for another, but this one offered a chance. The second day was a blur of darkness and gnawing hunger. The initial adrenaline had long since worn off. Hunger is a primal force. It dulls your mind, shortens your temper, turns every thought towards the single-minded pursuit of food. I was in a sterile, man-made desert. No plants to identify, no grubs to dig for. thirst was an even more immediate enemy. My throat was sandpaper, my tongue thick and swollen. I ran my hands along the slimy walls, praying for a leaking pipe, anything. I heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible trickle. Water. Hope surged through me, a jolt of pure energy. I began to scrape at the mortar with a piece of broken metal. It was slow, agonizing work. My fingers were raw, my muscles burned, but the sound of that water was a siren's call. It was black with grime, but it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. Each drop was a victory against the encroaching darkness. On the third day, the silence was broken. I heard it, a rhythmic, metallic clang echoing from the darkness ahead. My blood turned to ice. This wasn't random noise. This was structured, deliberate, a patrol. They were in the tunnels. They knew. I was a rat in a maze with the exterminators closing in. I flattened myself against the slimy wall, holding my breath until my lungs burned. Then I saw it, a small alcove where thick pipes entered the tunnel. It wasn't much, but it was my only chance. The space was tight, my muscles screaming in protest, but I dared not move. I could hear their boots, the crackle of a radio. They were just feet away. Anything? Nothing. This whole section is a dead end according to the old schematics. Let's head back. I had been given a second chance, a reprieve from the ghost in the machine. After the patrol, I was more cautious than ever. Every step was measured, every sound a potential threat. The encounter had drained my reserves, but it had given me crucial information. They believed this tunnel was a dead end. The hunger was a constant dull ache now. My body was consuming itself, my muscles wasting away. I thought of food constantly. These thoughts are dangerous. They can drive you mad. The tunnel began to change. Brick walls gave way to poured concrete. The air grew colder, carrying a faint, fresh scent. It was the scent of clean air, of the outside world. Hope began to sprout again. I moved faster, driven by this promise. Each upward step felt like a step towards life. Then I saw it, not a light yet, just a subtle lessening of the blackness. A patch of gray in a world of pitch black. My heart leaped. And through the iron bars I could see the night sky, cloudy, overcast, and somehow beautiful. Stars. I could see stars. I had made it. I was at the edge. The grate was my final obstacle. Old, rusted, heavy, a formidable padlock held it shut. For a moment, despair threatened to overwhelm me, to come this far stopped by a single lock. Day 5 was a battle against the lock and my own failing body. My hands were bleeding, my fingers numb and clumsy. The hunger was no longer a dull ache, it was a dizzying, nauseating emptiness that made the world swim before my eyes. My body was shutting down. In those moments of rest, my mind would betray me. The tunnel seemed to press in on me, the walls closing, the air thinning. I had to anchor myself to reality. I started talking to myself, a low, steady monologue. Come on, Bear, you've faced worse. Remember the Andes, remember the desert. The lock wouldn't be beaten by brute force. It needed a different approach. Lying on my back, staring up at that unyielding padlock, I almost gave up. But then I saw a star flicker. I would not die in this hole. The sixth day dawned with an idea. A desperate, crazy idea. What if I didn't have to break the lock? I wasn't fighting the lock anymore. I was fighting the wall. Each chip was a monumental effort. My arms felt like lead. My vision swam, but I worked with feverish intensity. I jammed the metal shard deep into a crack and put all my weight on it. A loud crack echoed in the tunnel, not metal, but stone. Finally, both hinges were loose. This was the moment. I roared, a primal sound of effort and desperation, and pushed again with everything I had left. The night air was cold and clean. It smelled of wet earth, of rain, of trees. It was the scent of life. I was free, and when you're alive, you always have a chance.